Brian Kelly out at LSU. What it means for the Tigers going forward, who they are most likely to target, and did they just throw a wrench in UF's plans? Let's talk about it here on College Football Addiction. You guys know the news. We're not breaking anything, but October 26th, 2025 is a day that LSU fans will not forget. Brian Kelly sacked, sent packing from Baton Rouge with a $54 million buyout. Now they are still, it seems like, negotiating that or trying to figure out how much of that they're going to pay, but this is massive. We're talking about, again, what led to their meltdown, where the Tigers go from here. And again, did LSU just crash Florida's Lane Kiffin party? Is the Lane train heading to Death Valley, or is UF still in the driver's seat? Spoiler alert, LSU is the number one job on the market right now, and this story has more twists in it than a Saturday night in the SEC. Do me a favor. We don't ask this on every video. We did on our last Lane Kiffin video, but we will continue to talk about this an absolute ton. This coaching carousel and cycle is going to be unlike anything we've ever seen, and it may be the new roadmap for what's coming in college football with NIL and revenue sharing and teams that need to win now with the investment level that they're bringing. So hit the subscribe button. Let's jump into it. Notre Dame lets Brian Kelly walk when he leaves to go to LSU, and they look like the smartest program of the two at this moment. LSU's finally had enough. Brian Kelly comes in, one of the winningest coaches at the time, fresh off of a huge run at Notre Dame. A great resume, national title game in 2012. 2 college football playoff trips, BCS runs, and LSU throws the absolute bag at him, the biggest in school history, because why? It's LSU. It's national titles or bust. Year one, pretty good. 10-4, SEC West champs, Jane Daniels slinging the ball like a Heisman contender, and a bowl game blowout to end the season on a positive note. People may not have been buying early Kelly's fake Southern accent, but they were buying early results. Getting to 10 wins and performing the way that they did was impressive. But then the cracks started to show. In 2023, they were 10-3, solid but no playoff. A loss to Florida State, losing other big games again that year had fans grumbling. Kelly wasn't very good against top 10 teams. And in 2024, going 9-4, to finish unranked had people pretty upset, knowing that this would be a good year. We talked about this in the offseason. Would 8-4 be good enough for Brian Kelly again this year? Probably not. Did we know for sure that that would be the end of his run? Unlikely. Thought that there was a good chance, but it would have probably depended on how they looked. The way they've lost their last few games, the way that they've looked against really anybody with a pulse. That Clemson win, pretty meaningless, was just too much. His tirades on the sideline, the way that things were apparently going on behind closed doors, his investment level, all brought into question. 2025, expectations are sky high. Garrett Nussmeier back. He's your Heisman favorite. You believe your defense is rebuilt, which it was a lot better this year. Don't get me wrong. And LSU spent an absolute ton of money in the portal again, and in their high school recruiting class. And Kelly went out there and bragged about it. Kelly talks about how good they were going to be. They start out 4-0, including a top 10 road win at Clemson, which again looks much different now. And the playoff talk is very real. It feels like this is LSU's year to do it. There were faults. They weren't perfect by any means. The offense sputtered, but eventually the wheels fell off. A road loss at Ole Miss, a road loss at Vandy, and then the A&M loss, which is where it all went the wrong way. Audio of Fire Kelly can be heard over the ESPN broadcasts. His record against top 25 teams, his rushing offense, which just never seemed to figure it out. And 3 losses in 4 weeks was just too much. You think about the way that they got dismantled in that second half against Texas A&M after leading 18-14, being outscored 35-0 at one point in the second half before kind of a garbage time touchdown. Nussmeier didn't live up to the hype. He regressed. The run game wasn't good enough. And the defense finally broke. Reports start to leak on Sunday morning that Kelly and AD Scott Woodward are at war, fighting over OC, O-line coach, who's going to go, who's going to get fired. And at the end of the day, Kelly's out. $54 million worth of buyout later, second only to Jimbo's $77 million disaster at A&M. So what went wrong? Well, a couple of big things. But first, watch this clip from our show with Blake Ruffino just a couple of days ago while we were previewing the Texas A&M game. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Just want to quickly give some love to our friends over at Sleeper. Make sure that you have the Sleeper app downloaded. On Wednesday, we will play the more or less game on the Power 2 Live. Hopefully you can make some money with us. If you do up to 100% deposit using our code CFA, you will get a 100% match. But if you don't want to deposit, we have a free $20 play for you. You don't need to pay anything. Just get your free $20 play on the Sleeper app. Use our code CFA. The link in the description will auto-populate it. Make some money with us. Check their terms and conditions because terms are used to apply. Now back to the video.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've said this, TJ, in the past, that it's like every time that he doesn't win a big game, the next big game becomes even that much bigger, to a point where, you know, TJ, we had to have a conversation twice this week about people calling for him to be fired. And I'm like, listen, man, I mean, we live in a realistic world. I don't know if I see that happening right now. Like, I mean, the truth of the matter is you're 5-2. Do I expect you to win out? No. But are you still technically in it? Yes. You know, and so I think that there's a lot of things that go into this. But they're not happy. And listen, LSU's just not a place that you can go 8-4. I mean, you win it last year, and it was a little bit of a TJ for me. And I don't say this, every day in like LSU circles. You came off of a season in 23 where you had 2 first-round wide receivers. Both of them were top 10 in the NFL last year, by the way, in receiving. You had the NFL Rookie of the Year and the Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback. And defensively, you weren't ready. And BK had to rebuild, right? Like, I mean, a lot of people blame him for 23. And I sit there and say, well, man, it's a tough situation to be in the sense of, look, man, you had to rebuild from 30 scholarship players. You were way ahead offensively. You got a dynamic quarterback. But I just sit here and say, now you're in year 4. And so what's the excuse? TJ, you've missed in recruiting from high school recruiting. And listen, I know other places do, but you can't do that when you're only the only P4 program in the state. So it's not in a good spot. This is a win or die scenario.
Blake nailed it all there. I don't know how much further I need to go, but 3 big things. Kelly couldn't win the big games. He just wasn't good enough against top 25 teams. That wasn't LSU football under him. You think about the wins against top teams when Saban was there, when Orgeron was there, when Les Miles was there. They delivered against the elites, and Kelly didn't. LSU fans wanted authenticity, not a Notre Dame transplant trying to fit in. Number 3, scheme and staff issues. His offense is leaned too hard on star quarterbacks like Daniels and Nussmeier. Without them clicking, the run game was non-existent. Defensively, they were a lot better this year, but not good enough through his tenure. And his coordinators were a revolving door. Boosters and fans lost patience, and ultimately they pulled the plug. Now, let's talk about the future, because that's what's really important here. LSU isn't just a job. It is the number 1 job available on the market right now. Listen, if you're a Penn State fan, sure, you're going to lean your way. If you're a Florida fan, sure, you're going to lean your way. I just want to tell you that it's not the same. It just isn't. In a talent-rich state like Louisiana, where you are the only major university, Florida's got to deal with Florida State and Miami. Penn State is always going to be second fiddle to a lot of the programs up there in that region. LSU is an absolute perfect scenario. I don't know that I'd go as far as saying that it's the number 1 job in the country, but I'm telling you it's pretty close. Texas would be up there. We think about some of the teams with recent success like Ohio State and Alabama and Georgia. Yes, they're up there pretty high too. LSU is one of the very best jobs. It is a top 5 job in college football, and it's not debatable. Their resources, their investment level, Their geographic location, being right next to Florida, Alabama, and Texas, is pretty elite. And again, being the only major institution, university in their state is a huge advantage. Kids don't often commit to programs anymore. They commit to coaches. We understand how recruiting works. LSU is one of the few places that kids still commit to because it's LSU, not because a coach goes there. Death Valley is an absolute cathedral. Their resources, their recruiting are all top 5. And LSU, you have to fail to not pull in a top 5 class at LSU. Their NIL is in a great situation. And LSU is going to spend money this offseason on a coach. And then they're going to spend money on a roster for that coach. This is where it gets fun. Lane Kiffin is the only name. Does that mean Lane Kiffin absolutely lands there? Not necessarily. But he is the name. And did LSU just gate crash Florida's Lane Kiffin sweepstakes? He's the hottest name in coaching right now. Ole Miss is on fire, fresh off of a huge win in Oklahoma. He's 50-19 in Oxford, and he's building a playoff contender with a top 10 offense and a better effective use of the portal than LSU had. Now, we all love his Twitter game. His play calling is really good. And Florida's been chasing him since firing Billy Napier 2 weeks ago. Steve Spurrier has publicly come out and called for Kiffin to be the next coach. And UF fans see him turning DJ Lagway into a Heisman candidate and packing the swamp with offensive fireworks. It's a match made in heaven, but not so fast with LSU in the game. Paul Feinbaum has talked on ESPN about LSU being a better job than Florida. They've had one bad hire in 20 years versus Florida's 4 since 2011. Death Valley is a recruiting magnet, and Kiffin's old SEC West roots, I know the divisions aren't there anymore. He seems to fit Baton Rouge like a glove. His up-tempo offense would have those fans ecstatic. And if he can hire a good defensive coordinator, they'll play that kind of defense that they've grown to love in Baton Rouge. Now, here's the kicker. Nothing is saying that Kiffin is going to leave Ole Miss. We did a video on this just the other day. He is absolutely keeping all options on the table. And there's still a chance that he stays at Ole Miss. I'd say that chance is much smaller today. I was kind of bought in on the fact that he might stay at Ole Miss if UF's kind of a mess. Can he rebuild it? Where can they be? I think that percentage goes way down. And sorry to upset the Ole Miss fans. If you're right about that and he stays at Ole Miss this year, please come back to this video and dunk on me. I just don't know that I see it happening now. Not with both jobs open, not with both UF and, again, what I think might be one of the best jobs in the country, a top 5 job undoubtedly in the country in LSU opening. Now, if Ole Miss makes the playoff, if they go 11-1 and they get a bye, or maybe they're into the second round of the playoff, maybe LSU and Florida can't wait. Maybe that's Ole Miss's best chance of retaining Lane Kiffin. But if they don't, if they slip up beforehand, or if they lose in that first round, I certainly like LSU here. It's the better job. They're not on a 4-coach firing streak like Florida. If you go to LSU and win, you're immortal. And they've had the recent success that I think matters. If Kiffin jumps, I'd put it at 75-25 that he goes to LSU. He stays in Ole Miss. Again, feel free to come back and dunk on this. But it feels like Ole Miss is going to be pretty tough to retain him. LSU's buyout hurts their chances a little bit. They spent a lot of money. And are they going to get in a bidding war, as it's been reported by Buddy Martin at UF, that Florida is willing to spend $13.5 million on Lane Kiffin? I think they would. I think they absolutely would. Their NIL budget alone tells you that they're all in. This will be the hottest coaching battle of 2025, Florida or LSU for Lane Kiffin. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Where do you think Lane ends up? Does he end up in LSU? Does he end up at UF? Or does he stay at Ole Miss? Does he buck the trend? Does he prove me wrong and stay there? Brian Kelly, though, is out. I'm interested to see what he does. But I think that it's all eyes on Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss right now. And we could have a new Cajun King down there in Baton Rouge, which would be a ton of fun. Again, LSU, top job on the market. Florida, still a really good job. I'd put it ahead of Penn State. But where do you think Lane goes? Hit the comments and let me know. Again, we will continue to talk about this later today on the Power 2. We'll be live at noon Eastern. If you missed that, you can go back and watch it. But go check us out. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you're subscribed to College Football Addiction.